The US Navy already leads the competition when it comes to aircraft carriers, but with the technological advancements, the country is looking to step the game a further notch up. Introducing flying aircraft carriers. Yeah, you heard that right. The US Navy has its eyes on carriers that would take to the skies. The idea of flying carriers has existed since the World Wars. However, after somewhat dying out, now it is receiving renewed attention, and this increased interest could be attributed in large part to the complete dominance of American sea-based aircraft carriers today. But does the US really need to chase after this idea? Well, the answer may be a no and a yes. For the first, the United States owns 25% of the world's aircraft carriers, a deck base more than double that of all other nations combined, and most importantly, lead USS Ford-class aircraft carriers that are at the top of their game. The USS Gerald Ford has the most cutting-edge engines designed for use on the water. As a result, the carrier can run for 25 years without refueling. Also, the vessel, outfitted with the most high-tech sensors, processors, and weapons available, has still the most advanced radar system in the world, capable of handling surveillance, air traffic control, missile communications, and detecting targets from great distances. And for the most important part, the behemoth can hold up to 75 fighter jets and unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, from the United States simultaneously. While all these capabilities make the US aircraft carrier virtually undefeatable, granting it the ability to fly can only make the situation sweeter. Although real flying carrier concepts aren't as dramatic as one may think, they're as close as the US has gotten in the last 100 years. Experiments with aircraft slung beneath airships, which we'll refer to as microfighters, were conducted as early as 1917. These hanging aircraft were primarily used to defend the airships, but as the airships became obsolete, different flying carrier programs emerged. Number 1. The Boeing 747 Airborne Aircraft Carrier. The US Air Force in the 1970s experimented with converting one of its large aircraft into a flying aircraft carrier full of parasite fighters that could be deployed and recovered in mid-air. The Lockheed C-5 Galaxy and the Boeing 747 were two contenders for this role. However, Boeing would take the lead because the 747 offered superior range and endurance when flying with an impressive 883,000 pounds of payload. The jet could transport up to 10 microfighters at once, all the while boasting an apparatus that would allow the large plane to transport the fighters for a long distance, drop them where they are needed to fight, recover them, and refuel them if necessary. Unfortunately, due to some uncertainties, the proposal was discarded. Nonetheless, this was just the start of an eccentric idea many had previously thought impossible. Number 2. Lockheed CL-1201. Lockheed at one point decided to build a flying aircraft carrier that wowould be 5,265 tons in weight and as tall as a 14-story building. To fly such a massive structure, the design called for a 1,120-foot-long wingspan and a 560-foot-long fuselage. The Lockheed CL-1201, on the other hand, could be powered by only 4 massive turbofan engines powered by regular jet fuel to an altitude of less than 16,000 feet. At this point, nuclear energy from an onboard reactor takes over and powers the jet for 41 days. In fact, the aircraft could maintain a cruising speed of 0.8 for this time and fly at around 30,000 feet. The massive aircraft would have an 845-person crew and be capable of deploying 22 multi-role fighters. However, the concept to this day only remains a historical anomaly that continues to pique the world's interest. Number 3. The B-36 Peacemaker. For this aircraft carrier, the McDonnell's F-85 Goblin would be the microfighter, and it could house up to 4 of them. But what's truly fascinating is that if it was made, the Peacemaker's 230-foot wings would dwarf those of the B-52 Stratofortress, and when fully loaded with fuel and up to 86,000 pounds of weapons, it would weigh an incredible 410,000 pounds. But despite all of these accolades, the B-36 would never be operational. Although it was desired to provide the US with the capability of efficiently bombing Berlin, World War II would have ended by the time it was ready. However, due to its massive size and range, the Air Force considered using it as a flying aircraft carrier, but this too did not come to fruition. Number 4. Lockheed C-130 Hercules. Since 2015, the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency has been looking into the possibility of using a modified Lockheed C-130 Hercules cargo plane to deploy, support, and recover Dynamics X-61 Gremlins as microfighters. Testing is currently underway at Dugway Proving Grounds with International Air Response, and in January 2022, DARPA successfully launched an X-61 Gremlin UAV from the bay of a C-130. Should the test pass, the aircraft carrier will allow the US to deploy drones from motherships while still operating outside of enemy air defenses, allowing the drones to engage targets before returning to the mothership to be recaptured and carried home. How soon will we get to witness the advent of flying aircraft carriers? Tell us in the comments below. This brings us to the end of the video. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing and sharing so we can keep bringing more content like this. See you next time!